tomorrow. Today's subject, my friends, I have a word, but it is cinephile. And of course, you might think of it as film buff. Well, turns out buff comes from that whole business of the chamois on the car. And a film buff is somebody who kind of polishes it up and puts it in front of you and tells you nice things about it because they love buffing so much. They love filming so much. So I looked up for another word. I said, what's the synonym? Well, the synonym is cinephile. And of course, just like bibliophile means one who loves books, cinephile means one who loves cinema. I have two perfect examples of that here with me today, y'all. You don't have to listen to me, I promise. Carey Miller is here from the Mississippi Film Office. I so appreciate you coming in, Carey. We got a lot to talk about. Thank you very, very much for being here. And Ryan Parker is here from the Mississippi Film Society. I am going to harass both of them because I want y'all to know even more than I do about what's going on in Mississippi in film. Now, for those of you who don't happen to know anything about my background, I'm very devoted to this particular industry in our particular state because we do the best that anybody ever has done, first of all. Second of all, we make movies and we make features and we make TV shows and we make all of these things with incredibly little support from the whole outside world. Mississippi is innovative, if nothing else, and the Film Office has so much to do with that. Tell me about your work, Carey. I know you do marketing, but it's a bigger picture than that.
Yeah, we try to get the word out about filming in Mississippi as far-reaching as we can. You know, we go to events to meet producers and people in the industry and just tell them about, pitch Mississippi to them, tell them about what a great place this is to make a movie. And,
our location notebook alone fills volumes.
Right. Yeah, but on top of locations and, it's about people, and anybody who lives in Mississippi knows how great the people are.
Exactly.
And that's the secret sauce.
There's a whole lot of adoption that goes on when anything is getting filmed. It attracts a crowd, of course, but in Mississippi it also attracts pimento cheese sandwiches and an invitation for cocktails and a whole lot of other things like that.
Yeah, the food is an added bonus.
It absolutely doesn't hurt. When I first came to Mississippi in the 90s, I watched the wall at Little Tokyo in Jackson grow with pictures of everybody from Alec Baldwin to whoever as people came, because they would all go there to eat and then take their pictures. And by the time I had the opportunity to work on My Dog Skip, we were fortunate enough that, oh my goodness, this was so funny. Kevin Bacon came in to film at night, and he was so nice to us. He came in and because we were literally, what do you need next? And it was crawl around and set this up and get that done. And he ordered the same. They said, where can I get these folks some sushi? He laid out second meal sushi at 11 o'clock at night for the entire crew. Papa San came with all of it. To me, that's exactly what happens in Mississippi. When you agree to come and make a film here, you're buying into family, you're buying into places, and you really are buying into this very small crew at the Film Office that does amazing work. Y'all get the word out better than any agency anywhere, and really everybody's listening because everybody wants to know. Tell me what's current, what's happening now.
Well, recently we had about 4 productions here. One was kind of in the news, Hotel Tehran with Liam Neeson around the Jackson area, and a couple others. And there's some things coming up. We've stuff we can't talk about, but we've had work, and we hope that continues. Well,
and I know that once we have someone and somebody gets pleased, Liam Neeson comes and films, that rebound effect does help. Tell me what else happened here this year.
Well, recently, and you can actually watch this now, and since we're going to be talking about Christmas movies, Steal the Naughty List.
I love this idea.
A stop-motion animated film completely made here in a studio in Brandon just came out on streaming.
And I think, is it streaming on Prime? I think.
Yeah, Prime, Apple TV, pretty much all the major ones, so you can rent or buy it there. And and that was all done here right in Mississippi by talented Mississippi artists. So
talented bunch of folks here.
We loved for that to happen.
Something, I know that we never can possibly give you enough information because Ryan Parker, you're always wanting to show somebody another movie. Go look at first person we know to go and see Wicked. That's right. No, we're not going to talk about Wicked because y'all all know about Wicked. It's like the Barbie movie. What did you watch recently? Well, I watched the Barbie movie. But I don't know that anybody needs to know about that. it's a fun thing. It's a romp. And I cannot possibly say that Wicked is not going to be that too. But how did it get so big so fast? It really has literally got people buying tickets online all day and all night right now.
Well, it's got a great pedigree from the Broadway show, the novel, which is, what was that, like a late 90s, early 2000s novel?
Don't look at me for knowledge on Wicked.
So yeah, I mean, you've got a built-in audience, which is a huge advantage for a film. I mean, I guess you could say anything in any genre, but the built-in audience is
there is
really
something they have just captured, though, and I do think. I think in some ways it's theater kids growing up. I mean, you know, we love to see people find themselves. Yeah, and they've certainly never put up a production that looked better than this one's going to look.
It's gorgeous.
You know, it's just lovely. So this is not a spoiler, y'all, but he says that the last part is absolutely perfect. Can't look away.
Can't look
and
away.
We like that.
It's
We like that very, very much. Tell me, how come you got so smart? Tell me about the Film Society and why we do this.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of credit goes to Nina at the film office, who, when I lived in California, Los Angeles for a long time, and when we moved back to Mississippi, originally from here, my wife and I, talking to Nina about, you know, what's going on with film in Jackson and Mississippi, and you know, looking around, not really a traditional film society like a lot of places have. You think about New Orleans Film Society, Austin Film Society, and realizing that the work that I do, full-time work, that like the bill-paying job, is I work in film marketing and publicity. And so I have access to a lot of films, early access to a lot of films. And so it's really not a lot of trouble for me to say, hey, can we bring a screening of one of those films to Mississippi, which normally doesn't happen. We're not as big a market as, say, like Austin or Atlanta or whatever. And so through those relationships, able to bring some film, but also knowing that there are independent filmmakers who are struggling to find a theatrical release or a streaming release for their film, that are just hungry for audiences to see their films, and especially in a theatrical setting in a big group. And so a little bit of both, preview screenings of upcoming films, and then finding really good independent filmmakers, documentaries, features, what have you, and saying, hey, let's give these guys a platform, these folks, these young filmmakers, a platform to watch their film.
And tell me about the events. You organize them in Jackson?
Oh, the goal is to be, it's the Mississippi Film Society, so the goal is to grow.
I was thinking we probably need a theater in several other places.
Yeah, you know, and that's the other thing is you talk, there's a lot of conversation in certain circles about placemaking and rehabilitating like downtown places and things like that, and we talk about in other aspects of life, you know, what communities have lost over the years, right? There's not a grocery store here anymore. There's not, you know, X, Y, or Z.
Sure.
There's not a movie theater. And years ago, in even the smallest of towns, there would be one, maybe two movie theaters, right? So anyway, part of that, I think some of the work that we can do is taking films back out to communities with projectors and screens and trying to create an experience that people can gather around and share a film together and then talk about it.
Really get to know what that experience is even like.
Yeah, and then otherwise taking advantage of the communities that have kind of those built-in spaces, whether it's a theater on the coast or in Oxford, wherever it may be, but trying to take more of that on the road, so to speak. We do a lot here in Jackson because, I mean, I live here, but, you know, trying to take that out to a wider audience.
It makes a lot of sense to me. Good question, really, though, is this. What brought you back to Mississippi?
Oh, it's a whole load of things. Family, a little bit maybe slower pace of life, you know, things like that. But and still knowing that the work that I do could be done anywhere, and so it wasn't a tough decision.
I was fortunately, even before pandemic happened, I had that capacity to be able to work from here. I could be on Mars, and as long as my publisher could get the work, they wouldn't really care to see me.
Get good Wi-Fi signal, and you're good to go.
Exactly, it'd be fine. But it is one of those things that the 21st century has enabled. And Carey, I don't want to say you're not a traveler, but he says he's not a traveler. The good news is it's all in your head. We get to go around the horn in the movies. We're going to talk about some of your favorite movies. We're going to get into what's coming up in Mississippi. I know I want to know more about this naughty list thing, because I think that sounds like a greatly innovative program. Guess what, y'all? This is Good Things. I'm Nellie. I'm in here for Rebecca today. I got a couple of really smart cinephiles with me today. Well, anyway, Welcome into the Cinephile Day here on Good Things. I got to tell you, these two guys are putting up with a lot from me. Carey Miller from the Mississippi Film Office and Ryan Parker from the Mississippi Film Society. Both of them have a mission to make sure that you pay more attention to the film industry in Mississippi, because you're missing a lot if you don't. Now, I'm going to give you one, though. I'm going to tell you that there are always those movies that don't do well at first and then turn around and make a big hit. The one that comes to mind today is The Producers, because it was such a bomb when it came out in '67, and then it went on to do, of course, amazing things. We still watch it today. How do you know? Where do you get touched? When y'all watch a movie, how do you know it's going to be something going forward? Carey, I'm curious, because you see a lot of films. What hits you? Well,
I have very unique tastes in film, I guess. Everybody has a different thing. You're mentioning we might talk about least favorite holiday films. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
We're going to celebrate
that may be
instead.
Somebody's favorite holiday film that I'm saying is my least favorite. It's so subjective. I mean, I like horror films. Some people can't watch them. That's just.
What's the best one recently?
But oh gosh. Don't get me started on that.
He has a list.
I can recommend some holiday horror films later if you want me to. But yeah, that's just the thing. Is that
well, for
it's
me,
different for everyone.
For example, for me, because of not just because of my work, part of the reason I wanted to do the work in the departments that I worked in is because the props and the set always make me feel like it's right or it's wrong. And I think maybe that happens to a lot of folks.
There's another genre of film that was once described. I know it when I see it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Very true.
There's a little bit about a great film that's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
That's ineffable, right? It's hard to describe why you connect with the film because it is so personal, as Carey said. But it's also, I think your question points to a larger reality in that medium, is that it is very hard to make a film, period. It's impossible to make a good one. And so the fact that there are great films that we resonate with is really kind of special.
It's magic.
It really is.
We say that all the time, but it is, in fact, it is a synergy that comes about when the effort comes together.
And so many moving parts, and so many people who are, you already talked about many different departments who may never interact with one another, yet they are contributing something to something that's larger than what they do. And so you've got to have all of those parts work and work on time and budget and all that kind of stuff. And it's really, somebody said this before, and most people listening to this have probably heard it, but every film ever made should win an Oscar because it's so hard.
Because it got made.
It's because it got made.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
I've heard somebody say finishing a film is a miracle and making a great one is like 10 miracles.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. Because there's so moving parts is a really good way to describe it, I think. I have great desire for documentaries, okay? But if I sit down, I'm probably going to look for something that's more fiction because that's what how my world is full of reality. I want to go into the fiction world when I go into films. But then when you get started and you realize all these things you didn't know about someone because you're able to hear it, I love that documentarians are making this great archive for us. There's a lot more of that than there ever has been.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has something to do with streaming platforms and people looking for content. But there also are a lot of interesting filmmakers out here who can tell a story much better than the ones previous. No offense, y'all. But the younger filmmakers are doing a better job, I think, of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, a documentary itself, it's I think streaming, to your point, streaming platforms have been a gift to the field. I mean, now if you're a documentarian, it's hard. Making money off that can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think you have to have that day job.
You can't. Because precious few documentaries make it to theaters, right? It's got to really break through, and have a appeal for a huge audience. So where can it go now? Well, it can go any number of places: Amazon, Apple, Netflix. So
exactly.
I think it's a great time to be a documentary filmmaker. It's a great time to be a filmmaker, period, because of all of those avenues. But cutting through the clutter, how do we rise above everybody else? People are aware of us. That's a challenge.
Well, we're watching that right now with steal the naughty list, which we're talking about today because we're intrigued that someone can make a claymation movie in their studio in Brandon, Mississippi, and I can find out about it from an ad floating around on YouTube. I didn't know they were there. I just saw this thing and went, wait, what is this? And look at it. That's some of that kind of bouncing off stuff is what really does promote someone. Mm-hmm. I know that they work very hard to make all that happen.
Mm-hmm. Right. A big part of what we do is we try to support Mississippi homegrown filmmakers, and Still the Naughty List is a great example. It's the first animated project we've ever worked with, so it's different than they just come in, shoot for 2 to 4 weeks and leave. This has been like a process of 4 years of them working in their house making this film.
I bet they're never happy either, because everybody that does that sort of work is a perfectionist.
And I can't imagine how a finished film is a miracle thing applies to stop motion, because it's even more meticulous and crafty than
exactly.
than.
So in your position at the film office, what do you do? Who do you tell? Where do we get? I mean, I don't, how do we promote something that is this literally organic, coming out of the next county? What do you do?
Well, first there's, I do our social media things on our website. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and filmmississippi.org is our website. We post interviews with local filmmakers and people who work in the industry, everybody from costume designers to people, grip and electric people. We try to really show the breadth of jobs that are out there in the industry, because
there's a lot of work.
It's not just the above the line people, the producers, the talent. It's all talent, but they like to say the talent for the actors.
Sure.
The actors, producers, directors. That's not just it. There's so many jobs. I mean, if you can drive a truck, you can work for the movie industry. If you like you had a background doing greens, with gardening, that's needed for film.
Always.
Builders with, people who can build sets.
If you can swing a hammer or a paintbrush.
Yeah. You can cook.
If you can cook, there's work for you.
There's craft services. If you're an electrician, that's grip and electric, So
every set that has children on it requires a teacher, too.
So many transferable skills, and a lot of people have come to the industry from another career and just were able to transition into it, because it's not really something you have to have a specific degree for. You just have to be willing to learn and be part of a team.
I want to commend the film office too, and Carey on highlighting how diverse that industry really is. We think about writers and directors and actors, and it kind of feels like it could be this kind of heightened thing, and of course it is. But also everything that you just said, anybody can do. And so these are opportunities that when you invest in an industry like that, you're creating space for more jobs like that. And these guys making the public aware of that, making people who are fans of the industry just aware that all that's happening in Mississippi. I think it's an awesome thing. We had a couple of filmmakers in from North Carolina back in August who showed their feature film, and then the next day we had a forum, a filmmakers forum, where they basically talked to the audience about how they made the film that we saw the night before, which was a very low budget film that looked like it cost them way more. But and then they got to sit around and listen to the film office talk about what they do, and going through the film office website, and they were blown away by what the film office and the resources that they have online, where people can go and find out about jobs or upload their resumes or what have you. And I remember them saying, we don't have anything like this in North Carolina.
We are very blessed in that regard, and it's not actually a blessing, because it's a lotd work that makes it happen. Yeah. But that vision is a blessing, and I'm just going to say it, Nina Parikh has always had that.
And to sustain that and keep that up.
Big fans.
So if you think about, in terms of promoting the work that happens here, or the films that are made here, or beyond, when you think about the life of a film as kind of an alphabet, I say this all the time, like Carey in the film office, they know everything from like A to, I don't know, pick a letter P or whatever, when the film is locked, right? But then that's just the first part. Then how does it go out into the world? And that's where I think we really step in. The work that I do day to day, but then the film, like how do we let people know that this is here? And that's really where I think we can work hand in hand to say, look, you guys know what's coming when it's ready, and then what can we do to help promote it?
Let's talk about where we can put it and talk about it and stuff. That's really a smart way to go, too. And the thing of it is, it does take both perspectives. I think that what often I see is used to be, Steven Spielberg with a Super 8 camera, but now it's a kid that's 10 years old walking around with his iPhone shooting better stuff than I've seen in a lot of things. And I'm glad there's a place for those folks to have an opportunity to get in to see some other films and get to know what's possible in the work world. We're going to come back. We've got another bit of time to talk about these things. We're going to talk about holiday films. If you want to weigh in, by all means, tell us your favorite. Maybe tell us your least favorite. We might talk about that. Our text line's open, and, of course, the phone line. This is Good Thing. Welcome into Cinephile Friday. We're having a little bit of film, cinema, and good times yak today. Tanya Taylor, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
I appreciate you coming in and giving us some of your time. We've been talking today with Carey Miller and Ryan Parker about the state of the film industry here in Mississippi, and kind of leaping into some stuff, but we have a text that will take us directly there. This is enjoying listening to my big brother Ryan Parker. His favorite all-time Christmas movie, I think, is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and mine is Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. This is the profile.
Yeah.
All tied to great family memories. That's why I love a text line. That's so much fun. The main thing about that particular show, the Lampoon Christmas, of course, is Holiday Road, which is my winter theme song. That just no matter what else is going on, you feel like that you could be singing that and driving somewhere. And that's kind of what we do. We like to go see folks. We like to spend some time with them. Tanya, tell me about it. Tell me about what's the film you most recently saw? What have you been doing in your film world?
Well, I know that earlier you said you didn't want to talk about Wicked, but I did the
Did you see it?
I did.
Oh,
I did the
good.
double last night. I saw Wicked. I left and went right back and watched Gladiator 2.
Oh my goodness,
and they are both. And they're trying to pair the two like they did Barbieheimer.
Exactly.
And so it's called Glicked, where you see Gladiator and Wicked.
I love that.
And my husband was a sport and went to both of them.
Yeah, that's fun.
And he liked Gladiator much better than Wicked, but he loved them both. I love them both. They're great, both worth the time and money.
Oh, fun. That's
Yeah,
really good.
and-
That's a good review, and you don't always do that.
Yeah.
Tell me if you don't like it. I know that.
But yeah, like everybody, I'm a huge fan of the musical, and so I was very curious to see what they were going to do, and it couldn't have been better. And no spoilers, but there's just some great surprises, some changes, but I thought they were very well done, and it's just fun to see where they can go a little bit deeper than they can with a stage musical. So performances were fantastic. Music is fantastic. So definitely.
And this is only the beginning of it? There'll be...
Yes, this is just part one. And do we know when part two is coming out? I think maybe
next
a year.
I think.
So and if you're familiar with the musical, it kind of, ends in the same spot.
It's going to follow that pattern.
Before the intermission. But and then Gladiator 2, if you did not see the first one, no worries. At the very beginning,
Well, there's the answer to that.
There's a little bit of a sort of a animated, catching you up to what happened in the first one, and they fill in the blanks. I had not seen the first one really since it came out. Maybe I saw it a year or two after for a second time, and I followed right along. But great acting, of course, great action. It's very, very graphic. So, if you don't like to see blood shooting across the screen, you might just be prepared. It is rated R.
Just be prepared.
Yeah.
Well, the truth of the matter is, if Denzel Washington's in it, I'll go see it. So
yes.
we're talking
And
about him
he's
being
fantastic.
on a telephone. He could read the phone book, and we would all,
Yes,
we
I
would-
totally
I feel
agree.
that way about Ridley Scott as a director.
You're right. You're exactly right. There's a lot of loyalty among us with those of who we are fans, and Ridley Scott is huge in that department.
Yes, and he does what he does very well.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, now what's next, guys? What's coming in? What have we? Let me go back to the beginning. What Christmas movies have been shot in Mississippi? I know there's a whole list, and I don't know them. So help me out if you don't mind, Carey, and tell me.
Well, in addition to Steal the Naughty List, which
we're still looking for,
we're just
right
talking
up
about. One of the first major ones was Christmas in Mississippi from 2017. That was shot entirely in Gulfport.
That's right.
Mississippi's own Gary Grubbs has a big role in that movie. You know,
Cool.
and it was released by Hallmark, and you can see a lot of the decorations that Gulfport does for Christmas. Like I think they light up the boardwalk and things like that. So then we had two that were made in Natchez. One, it's actually set in Natchez, called Every Time a Bell Rings from 2021. And that's starred Aaron Cahill. And you can actually see a lot of, they do a walking tour that you can get from the Visit Natchez people that will tell you where all the locations you see in the film are, like Smoots and Longwood and things like that. And that was also a Hallmark movie too. And then the last one is A New Orleans Noel, where Natchez actually doubled for New Orleans. You know, it was all
not hard to do.
shot in Natchez except for some B-roll like trolleys and stuff they did in New Orleans to tie it all together.
But there's a lot of similar architecture. If you're in a tight shot, you can do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's got that French influence. Natchez is almost as old as New Orleans.
Of course, Under the Hill
so.
is as old, I think.
Yeah. So and that was had Keisha Knight Pulliam from Cosby Show fame, and Patti LaBelle, the R&B artist, starred in that. And that was a Lifetime movie, and I think all of these you can find on their respective streaming platforms or Prime Video.
We could call it a night, set up a screen.
Yeah.
Do Mississippi Christmas movies.
I meant to look before we showed up today, the number of new holiday movies that release every year.
Oh my goodness!
Across all of these platforms, right? Because now Netflix has got one a week until Christmas. It looks like, and of course Amazon's going to have some.
Hallmark started in August.
Yeah.
We're still
Halloween
hopeful
movies?
someone will come to Canton and take advantage of the wonderful
we hope so.
decorations they do in Canton, and really any of the communities across Mississippi who we do it up for Christmas.
The beautiful light show that's starting tonight out in Brandon would be a beautiful place to do some
right.
scenes,
I mean, that's just production value that's just
Built
there
in.
to be taken advantage of.
And share it with everyone else.
That's what a lot of filmmakers have come to do Christmas movies here and they can shoot them in July. So
yeah, that's right. One of the things that is always interesting is how we are in the process of always changing seasons. You know, you come and look at Mississippi in March, and you come back, and the only thing that's the same is the Spanish moss and the cemetery. You know, so you have to kind of make it look like some other time of year. But I really do think that if you're going to shoot a Christmas movie, there's no place better than us, because we literally have everything that you can take. You can take it down and you can put it back up again. We have sets, we have places, but we need a studio. We need a really big studio system so that, frankly, so I can teach, but so that we can take advantage of all these folks. I know at least a dozen youngsters, people under the age of 30, that are wanting to be filmmakers, that are out there making films. I read their stuff on Facebook. I see what they're looking for. Sometimes they're looking for things I've never heard of. Sometimes they're looking for the oldest type stuff that you could imagine in the film business. But I really think we have a burgeoning hotbed of talent and for all of this enterprise. Tanya, how do we get these people to do this? Your family is a busy family. How do we get their attention and get them to come pay attention to what we want them to do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of getting probably some funding first.
Keeping it going.
Yeah.
Let's start raising money.
Yeah. And, you know, like my kids' high school, they have a media department. These kids make movies. They have their own little Oscar ceremony.
I love it.
Every year they submit their own films and they vote on each other's films. And so I think
that's exactly what we need to capitalize on.
Yeah.
You know, keep these folks, keep them in Mississippi for one thing, because there's a job that they want to do here. You know, that's part of that whole circle. I certainly stayed to work on movies because this was where most of them were, but I didn't turn down a chance to go somewhere else because I had to. But I really do think that we have that much work here if we just can put everybody into it.
Yeah.
Tell me what the Film Society is going to do next. Are we having a Christmas event? What's going on?
I hope we pull off. We did Red One, another screening recently.
I wanted to ask you about Red One, but I was afraid to. The reviews have been very mixed.
You know, it's really interesting because you have a film like that that's getting, you know, kind of panned by the critics, but it's like 90% plus audience score. So, which I think is, you know, I don't put, you know, there. If critic scores are high and audience score is high, let's pay attention to that film. Wicked is this case, right? Both over 90%. But so Red One, families seem to love it. It's the perfect time of year for it. their fan favorite stars. I hope we can do a classic film sometime in early December. And then we'll take a bit of a break, and there's some conversation about some really cool film events in January. And to keep up with any of this, you can just follow MS Film Society, Facebook, Instagram. But then we're back with some documentaries starting in February as part of the South Arts Southern Circuits series. So we kick off February 13th, or we resume February 13th with the film called This World Is Not My Own. And we'll be screening that at the Mississippi Art Museum.
Oh, that's
Museum
wonderful.
of Art.
There's so much going on. I need a new calendar, y'all. We have a little bit more time. We're going to get everybody's favorite. Maybe we're not going to do least favorite. We're just going to do favorite holiday films because we want y'all to make a list and check it twice. We'll be right back. That's so much fun. We've argued about Die Hard this week already. We've argued about several others this week. But here's the question: what really is? I'm in the 1940s world. I'm stuck back there. There's great movies forward from there, but I'm stuck. So I'm going to give y'all this. There's several that I really, really love. But if you've never seen It Happened on Fifth Avenue, made in 1947, please go. It's on some TV right now, on some streaming channel somewhere, some additional thing. These are black and white movies. These are movies about the season, but they're not movies about Christmas. That are the ones that I like. This is a movie about people finding their way. And in terms of finding their way, there's really nothing better to me than the combination of someone who's a little bit down on their luck, someone who's extremely rich, and an Army veteran. Those are great. Put those things together, and everybody's got to find their way. So that's what you will run into in It Happened on Fifth Avenue, she said teasingly. All right, give me a good one. Tell me.
Well, I've been outed. I mean,
they've already given us yours.
Christmas Vacation's right up at the top, but the older I get, the more that White Christmas also creeps up.
Oh, yeah.
1947, which I get emotional at every time.
Me too.
And
Rosemary Clooney.
Why does this happen? I don't know, but it's such a good. Those two are right up there.
It strikes a chord with us.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does. All right, now, what do you think, Carey?
Well, this kind of dovetails into Mississippi. My all-time favorite and what I watch every year is Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas,
Fun.
Jim Henson production, which, Leland native, Mississippi. So, and a new favorite is something my wife introduced me to, Meet Me in St. Louis.
Oh, my goodness.
That was her family's
That came out
tradition.
on this day, as a matter of fact, in history. This is its anniversary.
Oh,
wow.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, and then,
Can't beat Judy Garland. Come on.
And a personal favorite is Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Fun.
That kind of people finding their way. That's kind of a modern take on that, I guess. And when we're debating what makes a Christmas movie, Gremlins.
See, I think Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, so those are some favorites. And,
Tanya, am I right? Does Gremlins count?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
What's your lineup?
I tend to go with the romantic Christmas movies. So like The Holiday, Love Actually.
Oh yeah.
Those are probably two of my favorites. I also
wonderful.
like The Family Stone
because
it's got a lot of the, all the funny comedy, but it also shows the ugly parts of a real family situation. And then I think about my kids when they were growing up. The animated movies. I love Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas and Twice Upon a Christmas with Mickey and the Gang.
That's so sweet. Yes.
And then I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love that one.
That's a wonderful choice. That's a list. You could literally introduce someone to movies and to Christmas with that particular list. I love that. Well, I'm going to go back to the 1940s. I got to tell you, Holiday Affair. Of course, now Robert Mitchum is another person I would watch him do anything, and I have. So I have literally hours and hours in my life that I'll never get back just watching Robert Mitchum movies. But Janet Leigh, I'll never get over,
It's not a Christmas movie, but Robert Mitchum, Night of the Hunter.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Greatest one-hit wonder ever.
Truly.
Film.
And it
Charles Lawton directed.
Charles Lawton had so much talent, and he poured it all into that particular film and never did another one.
Yep.
He had so much else to do, I think, by that time. How fun. Well, we could talk Robert Mitchum for another hour, y'all. Tell me, though, what comes after on your list after the Lampoon Vacation and after
White
the Jug Band
and Jug
White
Band's
Christmas.
Up there, yeah.
We got to have something.
Love Actually. is a big one.
That's
for
really
us.
true. Love Actually really does hit a lot of those points.
And talk about a film that's not like critics didn't love it,
Yeah.
and audiences are increasingly not kind to it.
Yes.
It's not quote unquote holding up well, but I don't know. I still enjoy it.
Well,
Yeah,
it
it's very
it has a
polarizing.
particular sugar element, I think, in it that some people just love and gravitate towards, and there's another part of it that you just can't quite reach.
Yeah.
You know, I can see that. I can see how that happens.
Oh, another Christmas movie that I think is great that not a lot of people have seen, I don't think, is it's called Joyous Noel, but there's a French version of that. But it's a World War I film based on a true story on the front lines where French, I think British and German troops call a truce overnight and celebrate Christmas together.
What a great story.
And it is absolutely amazing.
Okay, I'm going to look for that
I think
one.
a timeless film, an important film, but people who are on the front lines realizing the shared humanity, and especially around the season, it's beautiful.
It's another one. We're
Yeah.
more alike than we are different.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Thank
it may
you all
be
for
on Prime.
coming today. Y'all are so terrific. This is fun. We're going to do this again. Another point, another day. And I didn't even get to say it, but I will now. Christmas in Connecticut is my absolute favorite. If you haven't seen it, 1940s, baby. I wasn't around, but there you go. We've got a lot of choices here in the text line. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Rhino. Thanks so much for being here, Tanya. Thank you very much, Carey and Ryan. Y'all have been wonderful. We're going to talk cinema another day, another place, but right now, we're all going to go have a cup of coffee. See